After 454 members from the Lok Sabha voted in favor of the Nari Shakti Vandan Adhiniyam, the reservation for women is set to become a reality in legislatures. Now, given the status of NDA in Rajya Sabha, it is expected to sail through in Rajya Sabha as well. It is already passed in the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha it will sail through. Thereafter, it will get the assent of the President, making this bill an act. This is the 128th Amendment Bill, which reserves seats for women in state legislative assemblies and the Lok Sabha, but not the Rajya Sabha and the state legislative councils. We are going to trace the challenges. However, as I mentioned, it is set to sail through. There are two challenges that remain. Challenges of OBC quota within the quota that has been provided for women, and the challenges of actually implementing it that traces itself to census and the delimitation process. This entire story is going to help you a lot in understanding the entire situation. So make sure you be engaged till the end. Let me show you the roadmap. This is the roadmap that we are going to go through. First of all, of course, the news will be introduced. We are going to look at the details of the bill. I have already explained in depth the details of the bill, the history of the bill, the challenges as well as challenges as in why women have not been very participative when it comes to politics, and the significance of political participation of women. I will provide the link of it in the description. You can look at that and thereafter you can look at this particular class. What is the issue with OBC and Muslim quota? Certain sections of different groups in the entire country as well as the parliamentarians have called for a quota within the reservation quota that will be provided according to this bill. Not only that, but what did the Geeta Mukherjee panel that was formulated in 1996 say about the reservation for OBCs within this quota? Then we will also talk about the delimitation exercise and why is it necessary for the implementation of this reservation system for women, history of delimitation exercise specifically, and why is it very controversial, the delimitation itself. What is the north-south divide over it? We are going to discuss that as well. So, if you want to get the PDF, make sure you are a subscriber to my channel, Pooja Dwivedi UPSC, that is a Telegram channel. If you have any questions regarding this examination or anything that I teach over here, you can contact me through my Instagram as well and follow me on Threads. So, Telegram, Instagram and Threads. Now, let's move on. Amit Shah, the Home Minister, has recently said that census delimitation exercise after elections, because we know COVID-19 distorted the entire process of census. The census should have been conducted actually in 2021. On the basis of that, delimitation could have been done, but because of COVID-19, the census has not taken place. And that has created the problem of delimitation. Another issue is that when will this be happening has been cleared out. Already it has been cleared out that it will be conducted after the 2024 elections. Thereafter, we can expect that by 2029, in the 2029 elections, the reservation for women in legislatures will become a reality. So now let's move on. Although some parliamentarians such as OBC have said that reservation bill is not worthy of it because there is no reservation for OBCs and Muslim women. We are going to talk about that as well because we have to ensure, we have to build up a balanced opinion, and that balanced opinion can be made only when we have heard through both the sections, for and against. This is the signature of a good bureaucrat. Alright, so let's move on. Let's talk about the details of the bill. This is going to reserve 33% of the seats for women in the Lok Sabha, in the state legislative assemblies and the Delhi Assembly, but not in the Rajya Sabha and not in the state legislative council. And from this quota only, there will be quota that will be provided to the scheduled tribes and the scheduled caste. Okay, reservation of seats shall come into effect after delimitation is undertaken, and according to the bill, it will be done according to the 2021 census, so that we shouldn't wait for the 2031 census. Otherwise, if this bill wouldn't have promised us the year of census, we would have waited till 2031 so that the women can take all the benefit from the 2029 election This has been specifically pointed out. Also, rotation of the seats reserved for women in Lok Sabha and state assemblies shall take place after each subsequent exercise of delimitation, and no two women MPs will be allowed to contest from one seat. It also excludes reservation for women from the OBC category, and this has been very contentious. Now, why is it contentious? We will talk about that, and also the reservation for Muslim women. Muslim women actually are 7% of the entire population of the country, but their representation in the Lok Sabha is only 0.7%. Also, the annual dropout rate for Muslim women is 19% as compared to other women, that is just 12%. Also, 690 women MPs have been elected in the 17th Lok Sabha. However, only 25 of them came from the Muslim community. No Muslim women got elected in the years for the Lok Sabha in the years 1957, 62, 1991 and 1999. Now, these are the many arguments in favor of garnering support for the quota for Muslim women. But there is a catch over here. The catch is they are not considered as a part of the scheduled caste. Why? Because of the 1951 presidential order. We know that the concept of caste hierarchy is very specific to one religion, and there are certain religions that emanate from them. Specifically, no person who professes a religion which is different from Hindu, Sikh or Buddhist shall be deemed to be a member of the scheduled caste. As in Islam, there is no caste hierarchy. But in India, because caste is a cultural issue, it's not related to religion only, it is also a cultural issue. We see that there is caste system in Islam as well in India. It is very specific to India. Generally in Islam, there is no caste system, but because of cultural penetration, even in Christians, there is no specific system as caste system, but because of the cultural penetration of caste system in India, it is also applicable to Christians. Now, what happens because of this presidential order? Muslim women are not considered a scheduled caste because of this particular order. Only women or people who are belonging to Hindu religion, Sikh religion and Buddhist religion, they are considered to be practicing caste system, and this is one of the issue. Secondly, only 120 OBC MPs are there in the house, although the Prime Minister also claims to be and is an OBC, but still reservation is not there. Now, let's talk about why is it not possible. First of all, just think from a perspective of separate electorate. The separate electorate that was given to us during the colonial times, that resulted in partition. Today, if we do it just for women, what about men? Wouldn't there be a discrimination for men? Why shouldn't a reservation be provided for Muslim men also, for Sikh men, for Buddhist men? So this can open a Pandora box, or this could pave the way for a further, divisive politics that is already divided in our country. Another thing is that because the constitution does not provide for political reservation to other backward classes. In the constitution, we find that reservation should be done only for the scheduled castes and the scheduled tribes. Scheduled castes 15%, scheduled tribes 7.5%. There is no mention for OBCs. So these are the two arguments against providing reservation for OBCs and minority women. All right. Now, Geeta Mukherjee led joint parliamentary panel that was formulated in 1996. It gave certain recommendation. It also gave the recommendation that the reservation be given to women from backward classes. It said that once the constitution is amended to permit OBC quota, that means for all, even for men and women both, the constitution mandates, if it mandates by amendment, then we can do so for reservation of women in the OBC category as well. Also, it also recommended that the reservation should be done for women in the Rajya Sabha and State Legislative Council, and that is also not permitted by the constitution. So, these two recommendations were not heeded. Women's reservation bill that was passed by the Rajya Sabha on March 9, 2010 didn't provide for that quota. Now, those particular parties which have been in favor of asking for OBC quota did not actually pay attention to this when they were in power. I'm talking about UPA. Now times change, necessities change, but there is a discrimination on sexual grounds over here. That is why, and that the second thing is that Constitution doesn't provide for it. Now let's talk about delimitation. What is delimitation? Delimitation is a process of redrawing parliamentary assembly constituencies which is based on the population data, latest population data. So two things are very important if we have to implement reservation for women. First of all, census is needed and on that basis delimitation is needed. Delimitation will be done on the basis of the 2021 census. This has been explicitly mentioned in the 128th Amendment Bill. That is the current adhiniyam that we are talking about. And of these increased numbers of parliamentary and assembly constituencies, 33% would be reserved for women. We are talking about 2029 elections that is going to happen after the upcoming elections. Now the thing is that delimitation can result in redrawing of boundaries. That means it can increase the seats and it can decrease the seats. It can change constituencies. And delimitation in itself is a very controversial hot topic. We will talk about that as well. Now, why do we need delimitation? So that when we get the census in hand, we know what kind of population and what amount of population do we have and what kind of representation that population needs. How many candidates are needed per population so that this section of population is equally represented as compared to that piece of population. So we need delimitation for that as well. For that, primarily to ensure equitable representation so that the vote of every person carries a similar weight. Supposedly there should be one candidate supposedly per 100 people. Now if I do not do the delimitation exercise, it would result in haphazard representation of candidates, and that can give an advantage and a disadvantage to the candidate. Also, Lok Sabha constituencies have to be allotted to every state. That means on the basis of population, we have to allocate seats in the Lok Sabha for different states. Alright, and that is another point of contention. I will talk about that as well. And to every state it is done in a manner so that the ratio of the number of constituencies and the population of the state is broadly similar. The larger the population, the larger number of constituency, the larger number of representation. And this is the north-south divide. We will talk about that as well. It also aims to have a fair division of geographical areas into seats to guard against the allegations of gerrymandering. What is gerrymandering? Gerrymandering is basically if the constituencies are not drawn properly. Sometimes a party can have an advantage over the other party when it comes to population. And that is why, in order to ensure that every candidate gets equal representation through population, gerrymandering is another issue we have to address through delimitation. And delimitation will be conducted by an authority, the Delimitation Commission. Alright, so it is a constitutional mandate as well. Our constitution also says, according to Article 82, that says readjustment after each census. After each census, we have to readjust our parliamentary constituencies, and readjustment in the allocations of seats to every state in the Lok Sabha and the division of every state into constituencies upon completion of each census. And this readjustment has also been referred by Article 81, 170, 330 and 332, which talks about the seats in the parliament. And delimitation has happened only 4 times in our country: 1952, 63, 73 and 2002. But it did not result in the increase. The last census, 2002 census, did not result in any increase in the number of constituencies. Why? The number of Lok Sabha constituencies has not changed till 1976. Why? Because of a controversy. What's that controversy? See, this controversy is actually related to the concerns that arose. Those particular states which were having high population, they were not implementing any population control measure. They were represented very thrivingly in the Lok Sabhas through their constituencies as compared to those states that were working very hard to control their population. And when there is a difference in population, which translates into number of constituencies, those states get better representation and the other states do not get that amount of representation. Very simple. So that sparked concerns, and that resulted in freezing of seats in the Lok Sabha. So this is one of the biggest reasons why since 2002 it has remained unchanged. We are following a pattern since the number of seats since 1976. See, next delimitation exercise should take place on the basis of the first census carried out after 2026, which in normal course would be 2031. But because of the COVID-19, we have to take up the census of 2021 only, and that will be conducted after the elections of 2024 as said by the Home Minister. So that is why there is a difference, and this you have to keep in mind whenever you are going to write answers or if you're going to appear in your interviews. Please keep this in mind. The delimitation following the 1951 census increased the Lok Sabha seats from 489 to 494. It was further increased from 522. It was further increased to 522 in 1961. Finally to 543 in 1971, and since then it's 543 only. And the constitution mandates that states receive seats based on a population ratio, and that is the problem, that South-North divide on the basis of population became so bad that the Indira Gandhi government had to freeze this particular, freeze the seats on the basis of 1976 only. And 42nd Amendment Act was the one through which this freezing was done. It suspended the redrawing of seat boundaries and seat allocation until 2001. Even if census was conducted, delimitation did not happen because of the population policy. It was like an incentive that the Indira Gandhi government gave to those states which were working well for their population control. She said, I wouldn't increase the number of seats now because certain other states have to control their population so that there is no north-south divide or east-west divide or whatever kind of divide that there was existing on the basis of population. Alright. So through the Constitution 91st Amendment Bill of 2000, which helped the NDA government under the Atal Bihari Vajpayee, under the Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji, he extended this freeze. And this was on the same principle that the population control should be done in such a manner that there is not a lot of divide when it comes to the representation between those states that have actually worked to control their population and those who get a lot of benefit just on the basis of their population and thereafter the seats in the Lok Sabha. So because of this only, the enactment of this, which was done in 2002, it was enacted as the Constitution 84th Amendment Act of 2002. Which one? The Constitution 91st Amendment Bill. As an act, it was done in 2002. So this froze the seats till 2026. So I hope you understood this much. Alright. So I tried to take 2 points together, the OBC issue, the Muslim women issue, quota, why it couldn't happen, and the delimitation one. So I hope you can write a good answer. If any question regarding this will be asked in the future. Thank you so much for watching.